Shabbat Shalom. Growing up, if there was a toy or an item that I wanted, but I didn't have enough money, my mom would often offer to share the cost with me. She would have me pay an amount that felt significant, and she would pitch in the rest. But if the item wasn't really important enough for me to want to put my own money into it, then I didn't really want it. In fact, if she had just simply bought it, I would probably have lost interest pretty quickly. But when you put your own money into something, we value it more, we take better care of it, and we often use it more frequently. When my kids were younger, PJ Library, a program that provides Jewish books for kids ages 0 to 12, started holding local events in our community. What they found out was if they publicized an event with limited space, the spots would quickly fill up with people who thought they might come, but then very few would show up. When they started charging $5 to register for the event, they found that the spots filled up slowly and people showed up. Because in order to sign up, you had to actually take out your credit card and think about whether or not you were going, and probably even put it in your calendar. Not that the $5 would bankrupt anyone in the community, but even the idea that they had some skin in the game resulted in a higher percentage of people showing up. Like childhood toys that we were willing to pay our own money for, when we have skin in the game, we value the item or the experience far more. This week, we see God create a way for the Israelites to have a little skin in the game. Last week, we lost confidence in God and Moses. Moses was taking too long on Mount Sinai, and we weren't sure he was coming back. So Aaron collected our gold and created the golden calf. In order to get the gold, Aaron said, "You men, take off your gold rings that are on the ears of your wives, your sons, and your daughters, and bring them to me." In this, Aaron directed the men to give their gold from their families, but not necessarily of their own accord. So when Moses came down the mountain and chided the people for creating this golden calf, they said, "Aaron told us to give him our gold." So we did, and he made this calf. They tried to shift the blame by saying that they were simply following orders. So this week, God changes tactics. He directs Moses to begin constructing the Mishkan, the holy home for God. When God directs Moses to tell the people that they should donate items and their time and abilities to the building of the Mishkan, God is careful to instruct them only to donate if their hearts so move them. In requesting voluntary donations, God is ensuring that each of the Israelites feel that a piece of them is represented in God's holy home. If they had been commanded to give of their items, as Aaron had done last week, they might have been resentful or felt distanced from the Mishkan. But more importantly, Moses asks people to bring very specific items. And these weren't common items. My favorite one is dolphin skins in the desert. Remember, we're traveling in the desert. There are no stores, no Amazon delivery, no drone delivery to get the items. No, it had to come from what these people already had. And remember, these Israelites were former slaves. They only had what they took out of Egypt with them. Each item was precious. Therefore, this ask was different. This ask asked each person to think about what they had to offer for the Mishkan. Was it a physical item that they had in their possession, or an ability that could help put each of the pieces together according to the specific instructions God provided? God provides very specific details of how each piece should look, how long, how many cubits. It required that the people worked together to build each piece exactly as documented. But it also ensured that each person saw a semblance of themselves in the Mishkan. As each person brought the items or contributed their skills, they added their own piece. Thus was the source of holiness for the Mishkan. The Mishkan was holy even before God dwelt within it. In fact, we could argue that it made the perfect home for God, specifically because it was made holy by each of the Israelites in the community, giving of themselves and their items to be part of it. And the people were more than eager to respond to this request, so much so that in one chapter later, Moses and Bezalel, the lead artist, were so inundated with gifts and offers of help that they had to tell the people to stop bringing gifts. Imagine if a synagogue were to hold a capital campaign, and after the initial ask, we filled our pledge. When we have a bit of skin in the game, we often feel personally connected and responsible for the outcome. When a child helps pay for a toy, they tend to play with it. When a student sees his or her artwork on the walls or halls of a school, they feel as if they belong in the community. And when we put our own efforts into building, sustaining our own community, we feel responsible and tied to its success. So how do we actively build up and continue to support our own communities? What can each of us contribute from our own hearts that will allow us to have a personal stake in the continued success of our communal and spiritual homes? Like the ancient Israelites, there are so many ways to contribute to the upbuilding and the maintenance of our community. We can contribute physical items that our community needs. Whether monetary donations or contributing goods for our collection drives, we provide needed goods for our community. Or we can give of our time and our efforts. From volunteering to attending classes, services, and social events, we integrate ourselves into the community and provide emotional presence and support to one another. With each connection we make, we create one more tie that binds us to this community. Whether locally, communally, or in Israel, the more we give of ourselves to the community, the more we feel bound to it. Just as the Israelites felt ownership of the Mishkan, and they no longer felt the need to create another God for themselves, by giving of our hearts, we too find meaning and connection in this community. Shabbat Shalom.